I did a video a few months maybe. I've actually moved house and ideal. I really miss my good internet connection from my old house. So in terms of valuing things, I think it's become. I feel like there's less new things that are kind of interesting. How dark it's got in the background all of a sudden. Um, so yeah, it's there's not really too much to talk about really that newer players might not realize. But I have just seen a post on Reddit, and it was a person saying, "How do I know how to value things and the current trends?" And as someone rightly pointed out, I guess the only way to do that is to read the board every day and look at what's been trading. Um, Other people might say that looking on GameFlip and other RNT things, are a valid way of valuing items too. I can't really disagree with that, but that's a whole other story. So see if there's. I'm going to get away from all this background noise because that's a bit annoying. Let's see if there was anything on the scoreboard this time around that was kind of cosmetic or any gun skins, any apparel. Um, Sorry, any armor skins. I meant. What did we have? I haven't really been paying too much attention to this scoreboard. I feel like it's maybe the worst one yet. Like typewriters, really? And what else? There's something really basic. Typewriters and toasters. Is that the best they can do? I feel like this is a poor scoreboard. Although we do finally get a new jetpack skin for Secret Service, which is, a long time coming. Is there anything on here that's like a skin for a weapon or a piece of armor that isn't power armor? We got this new tent, survival tent. But oh my God, what is with Bethesda? Like, if they give you a new thing like this ammo storage box, they take away the scrap box. It's like, Bethesda, please just give us a survival tent with everything. I don't want to have to keep going in the menu and changing it round. Is it that hard to do? It's such a silly change. Like, I don't know why they do that. They did it with one of the what do you call it, the APC vehicles as well, I think. Didn't they get rid of something on that? Or when it first launched, I think that didn't have a scrap box maybe, or it might have even been a store box. I can't remember. I think it might have not had a storage box. Anyway, I digress. It looks like the reason I'm looking on here is like the last scoreboard, for example, it had skins for a hunting rifle, um, and something else. It had a nuke launcher, which made two-shot auto grenade launchers pretty much not worth anything anymore. So I just wanted to see if there was anything on here that might affect the value of things, but it doesn't look like there is. Nope, it's pretty dead. No new weapon skins. Oh, there we go. Bear arm. Found one. So I might say bear arms might increase in popularity if you've got swing speed, strength, vampire or bloodied ones. I think AA melees are kind of not so hot anymore because people have realised that if you've got that perk, I can't remember what it is, that has anti-armor effect, then you don't really need anti-armor melees. So it's really just vampire and bloodied ones that you want. That looks kind of cool. I run a melee build sometimes, so I'll enjoy doing that. But that's about it. Um, so yeah, really, it's the same old roles that are the most valuable. Um, what have we got in stash? I haven't got any good quad railways or fixers or handmaids at the minute, but it's your usual quad 50 25, quad 25 25s, and QE 25s, fixers, railways, and handmaids. Enclave plasma rifles, I suppose, are they're probably the best thing to roll at the minute. Have I got a blank one here? So if I got one here, this is a flamer though. So if we pretend Instead of an aligned flamer barrel, this has an aligned automatic barrel, and all the other mods on here, standard stabilized and reflex sight, are the same, then that's the one you want to roll. The reason being is if you get one of the quad rolls, not an exploder obviously, because that doesn't roll on this weapon, but if you get a Q50-25 or a Q25-25, one of these that's an aligned auto, that's going to be worth something. No, sorry, yeah, AA Bloodied or Vampire, that will be worth a hell of a lot, like probably one of the most valuable single items in the game. On the contrary, if you were to roll a railway, a handmade, or a fixer, the anti-armor bloodied vampire versions of those, whilst they're still good, they're not really worth too much nowadays because they're just so common. It's much more of a better idea to roll this weapon with an aligned auto and a reflex sight. If you've got legendary modules to burn, that's what you want to be rolling. I've seen a few people on the board asking that, what should I be rolling if I've got lots of spare modules and cores? So Enclave Plasma with aligned auto and a reflex sight. It must have that reflex sight on the bottom there. If it doesn't have a reflex sight, you can't pick that up as a mod, so don't roll it otherwise. Same with the aligned automatic. You can't get an aligned automatic mod. It has to come on the weapon when you get it. I'm one of these people, like people swear by these aligned autos and they think they do massive damage. I agree, but the AP cost kills it. I hate this weapon with an aligned auto. I tried it and I just couldn't get along with it. I couldn't get rid of it fast enough. The flamer, on the other hand, I absolutely love. Like, I've been using a vampire one and I've been using this. Executioners, it's an effect that's slept on by a lot of people. If you're newer to the board and to the game, you might think it's a rubbish perk because, waiting for an enemy to wait for below 40% health. But once you're late game, you're going to be killing enemies so quickly anyway that when you fire this thing, you just notice enemies melting super fast towards the end of their health bar. And it's also really good for big enemies like the Queen, and Earl and other things like that, because if you're in a server with lots of people, you're going to be killing these things anyway. But my God, you really notice this if you're solo fighting Earl or the Queen. If you switch to this when the enemy's got to that health 40%, my God, I think it's the best effect. I'm sure people would argue that Bloodied is, but you don't have to be super low health to use this. So I'm a real big advocate of executioner weapons nowadays. I never used to be. What else have I been trying that's executioners? I don't know if I've got anything on here. But at commandos and heavies, like I was using an executioner Gatling Plasma, which was fucking awesome. I was using an executioner Flamer. I'd almost use that as my go-to now, like even more than anti-armor, and I've always sworn by anti-armor stuff. Excuse me. Bows have been my go-to build now, just to mix it up and do something different. I've had my build now. I'm on rifleman, but yeah, there's it's not super popular, but like this, I just love. I traded something really good for this because I just wanted this exact role. Instigating and 50% VATS hit chance. If this was anti-armor, if this was bloodied, they'd be very good roles too. Maybe less so anti-armor because you get a perk similar to melee, like I was talking about, that there you go, ignores 36% armor. So it's not as much, I don't think, as the melee. What's the melee perk that gives you anti-armor damage? So yeah, the Incisor ignores 75%. So you might argue with a bow because it's only 36%. The anti-armor are still good. So yeah, it's probably one of the only weapons, maybe apart from the plasma caster, that 50% VATS hit chance is like the most desirable secondary perk. I'd prefer this than 50% VATS hit chance, because the main aim with the bow is you're using it to one-shot enemies. You're not really, if you're going to be using this against a boss enemy, you're going to have a long, tough grind of it. I just wouldn't bother. So I just use this for like day-to-day running around, shooting mobs, one-shotting them. The third perk, 15% faster reload, you don't get on these anymore. So the only ones you really want are this 25% less VATS and 15% VATS fills faster. It's preference, I guess. If you do run bloodied and you get your health super low, like, this is probably the preferred one over instigating. I'm one of these weird players though who, even though I run an unyielding build, I never get my health below nerd rage to trigger. I just don't like being that low health and something can one shot me super quick. I'd rather just use anti-armor weapons or instigating weapons and stay just in the nerd rage threshold. Um, what else has been trading? Let me think on the board. It's that isn't very valuable at the minute is Gatling plasmas. I don't know if I've got one here. I've got an old legacy one that had explosive, but like, imagine this had faster fire rate, anti-armor, bloodied, and vampire versions of this. Like, when legacies were finally removed, these were super valuable. Over the last few weeks, a month, I've not really seen anyone requesting Gatling plasmas or heavies for that matter. I feel like heavies have gone a bit out of fashion. I think maybe because, like, if you've got an enclave plasma rifle with a flamer barrel on, what's the point of having a heavy flamer? I guess you can do more damage from long range in VATS if you run that kind of build, but you do more damage with an enclave plasma rifle flamer than you do with a flamer, I think. So I don't know, even things like God roll 50 cals and LMGs, I just don't really see requested on the board. It's weird. It's like anything though. I think things just come in and out of fashion. Like, next month, people will probably still adore this, like a V2590, and they'll be popular again. But it's like peaks and troughs. One week it's in demand, and the next it's not. Chainsaws. I'd say this chainsaw, vampire chainsaws with 40% more power attack damage. If this had +1 strength, it'd be the most valuable one in the game. I'd say this is maybe the second most valuable. I actually prefer this break slower because I find that chainsaws, even when you've got mates with warrior crit, they just get wrecked pretty quick. So if you've got a vampire 40% power attack chainsaw, with pretty much any third effect, that's really good. The only other melees that I think are valuable occasionally are VSS ones, but only very specific ones like a power fist, a bare arm, mole miner gauntlet, deathclaw gauntlet, any of the unarmed stuff, knuckles too. I think I thought I had those. I might have put it on my melee guy. Um, but yeah, like the axe I just had, you know, I wouldn't say if you put, what have we got on? If we put that on the board, it'd get a bit of interest, but not loads. Like, it's only very certain melees that are valuable. Let me go on to the melee and I'll just run through which ones are hot at the minute or are kind of rare and not seen too often. My Fallout first ran out today. I've not yet gone back on it. See, the amount of bugs Bethesda have made since Legacies, I told myself I'm not going to buy Fallout first again. I'm not giving them my money. And within a week of not having it, I just couldn't play the game. I don't think the survival tent I missed. It was just when I collected all that junk and I just couldn't do anything with it. I just thought, for the sake of paying it, you could store all that junk and get some good trades for it within a month. That'd be worth way more than the subscription cost. So I don't know. It's the junk for me that I miss when I don't have it to store. Um, okay, this is my melee guy. He's also got armor, which is a good thing because I can show you that. Because that's actually the takeaway of trading at the minute. I'd say is that armor is more popular actually than weapons. It's become more popular than I've ever seen it, to be honest. Armor. So maybe that'll be the focus of this video. Armor for once. I've started to learn a bit more about that. So VSS stuff I was talking about. Oh, what's this? Quad 25 fix that's level 20. That's kind of cool. So I ran through the unarmed stuff, bare arm, power fist. What else have we got on here? I think I started renaming these and got tired because I've been collecting all these. But like the Gulper Smacker, that's kind of rare. You don't see that often. That would be worth something. The drill is very rare. You don't see that often. That'd be desired. But things like this, most of the one-armed melee, like the most of the two-armed stuff too, to be honest, are just kind of valueless. This is a good one. You don't see that often. That's valuable. But like the knives, the swords, hatchets, pipes, rolling pin, they're just not really worth anything. I never used to think these were worth too much, but someone corrected me. Like the sheepsquatch staff and club are actually quite good ones. As someone, I think it was Pokemon Go, please corrected me on the board. So yeah, armor. Let's focus on armor. Like I say, on Market 76 especially, like the armor just seems to be way more popular than it ever was. Who's waving at us here? Hello, just doing a video, my man. Level 34. Feel like we should we should help this guy. Um, so yeah, you know, the only armor that I really care about is unyielding or overeaters. I don't deal in power armor. I've got no idea what it's worth. If I think of the trades that I see on the board day to day, I don't really see anyone requesting anything other than overeaters or unyielding. So let's have a look and see if we've got any overeaters armor that I can show you that's good. As with weapons, people are only really looking for perfect rolls. Something like this with overeaters and cavalier. That +1 endurance is really hurting the value. What we're looking for is this is kind of borderline. Overeaters and food drink chem weight reduction is really good. +1 strength, some people like because if you wear this armor and people basically they always need carry space. You always end up too heavy. So that one's actually not a bad piece. This one you've got overeaters and action point refresh speed. Action point is the most valuable second perk on pretty much any armor. But you know, you've got this third perk, any damage to melee attacker stuff is garbage. However, if you've got any armor with just overeaters and AP refresh, same with unyielding. If you have unyielding AP refresh, it doesn't really matter what the third perk is, or if you know, you're talking like minimum 20k caps. If that was a 2-star, you could. If this, sorry, an overeaters AP, I'm not too sure about. I don't think that would be worth a massive amount of caps, but it would be worth some. But if you had, have we got a 2-star unyielding AP? Like this one, for example, it's unyielding AP and it's the worst third perk known to Fallout history. So, but this would still be worth something because it's got those two things. So just remember that. What else do we got with the overeaters? That's a good one. Perfect. It's heavy, good. It's overeaters AP, good. It's Sentinel, perfect. The only thing hurting this is that it's heavy robot, and it's not heavy robot very popular. If this was Scout or heavy combat or heavy metal, it'd be like super cool. You know, leather maybe too. Robot, you just don't really see much interest in. Neither do you in Raider much. So yeah, I'd say that if that was if that's Sentinel, perfect. Also, if it's 20% weapon weight reduction, perfect. Those two third effects are the best ones with the most value, sorry. So unyielding is the only armor that you want +1 intelligence in. And it's, 99% of you know why, but just for the newer players out there, if you're grinding XP, then if you wear a full set of unyielding intelligence, then you're just going to massively increase your intelligence stat. So, I wear a full set of that when I'm grinding XP. The third perks don't really matter too much on unyielding intelligence, unless obviously you're going for a matching set. But if you just want something, if you want like a set of, say, Raider armor here, I'm trying to build. Oh, I've actually got a full one. Like that one's got Cavalier, that one's got Sneak. They're actually pretty good perks, thirds. Ammo weight is kind of good. Cavalier is good. This is actually a pretty good set. It's a shame that that is break slower because that perk is terrible. But when you're trading unyielding intelligence sets, you're often doing it to people who, like I say, are grinding XP and they don't really care what the third effect is. They just want the +1 intelligence on all pieces to give them +5. Um, if you don't have AP refresh, this probably the second um, best perk is this 7% less explosion damage. I'd say that's probably the best second one. So yeah, if you have a full set of that, that's good. I've got 3 bits of ammo. I need another one, and then Cavalier and Sneak. So with that set, I would just wait to get the right arm and right leg of those. So that's something to bear in mind. Like maybe if you've been collecting armor all this time, you might have 50, 60 pieces, and you might find something with the exact same roll on it. Here is a really cool set to build. Unyielding explosion damage and weapon weight. Again, very valuable if that was a full set. But even let me find something that's like not even like that good. Like here's an example: unyielding weapon weight reduction with bad second perks, charisma, endurance, and luck. Like I'm not when I'm trying to collect the left arm and left leg here, I'm not really bothered what the second perks are. I just want them to have unyielding and weapon weight reduction on a piece of scout armor. And then I've got a set that's tradable. So that's what you should be doing with these pieces with crummy second perks. Just don't worry about them and just try and get the unyielding and weapon weight. Um, like you always want heavy armor. If you end up with a good roll on something like a sturdy, do I have something? Like this is a great roll, unyielding at less explosion damage, sentinel, but it's a sturdy piece and it just really hurts the value. If you manage to help get a full set, maybe you've got a full set of heavy and you're missing a heavy chest piece, you could put this sturdy chest piece with it, excuse me, and that would still, make the set pretty much not the same value but close to it. Like it'd help having it. Um, yeah, trapper armor's a funny one. Sometimes I see people have a hard on for this, but it goes well with that lobster helmet if you ever got that for a challenge like last year. Kind of looks cool, but yeah, trapper's definitely not worthless. Something like this. Plus, of all the +1s, apart from intelligence, you want +1 strength. Like nobody really wants charisma, luck, or endurance. Very rarely do I see people requesting the luck. It does happen, but not too often. Um, Food, drink, and chem weight reduction I'd say, is probably the most slept on third perk on armor. People often see it and they think, I don't really want that because I've got perk cards that help it, but um, if you think about it, if you have this a full set of this, then you don't need um, traveling pharmacy or through hiker. So you've got 6 perk points to reuse to redistribute. So that's a slept on thing. Like I think a lot of people, I find quite a lot of unyielding FDC stuff in vendors. I think people just throw it away because they think it's rubbish. It's not. Keep hold of it. Um, like even stuff like wood armor, like that's not good, obviously. But like you've got your unyielding explosion damage. Fair enough, that third perk damage to melee attacker is rubbish, but if you've as long as you've got unyielding and that 7% less explosion damage, it's still going to be worth something to someone who's maybe building a set. Okay, see, I've got left arm, left egg, left egg, left arm, left leg with the same first and third. So I'll try and build a set with that if I get bored. Um, let's see one last thing, because I'm kind of bored with talking about the value of weapons. There's just really not anything that's changed in the last update. That girl's got chems. That girl's got heavies. That guy's got rifles. Maybe if we look at just have a run through the chems as we do sometimes. Because chems are quite hard to value as a new player. Like someone put a message on the board last week and they were offering like chem making services at 10 caps each, and like they've been PMing me and they said, right, I'm going to charge you 10 caps each for overdrive Formula P psycho tats. And I just said, look, I'm sure a lot of people would snap your hand off, but I'm going to pay what I'd pay anyone else. And offered the correct amount, or at least in my eyes. Like overdrive, I said I'd give him 50 caps for each. There was a time when you could sell overdrive for 100 caps each. I don't think that time is now. I think that's gone. I think 50 is more tats. I feel like 25 to 30 caps. Let's see what this girl's got on her. Berry tats. They're good for XP grinding. I'm trying to think what I see that sell for these days. Probably, I've seen some people selling it for 100 recently, but I don't think they get much interest. I want to say like 50 caps each is probably the average for that. Bear in mind that I am on PlayStation. Anyone watching this video, if you're on Xbox, the values are way different. I haven't got a clue. Buff out and buff tats, you don't really see people request. Carmex, you see people request occasionally. I'd probably put that at like 50 caps each. Daddy-O, never see anyone request. Day Tripper, never see anyone request. Formula P, quite often see request. I'd say that's maybe like the most expensive chem. I'd even say you could probably charge 75 caps for that, but again, 50 is probably, you're going to get regular interest at that. Fury, don't really see too much interest in. So even when I'm running a melee build, I tend to just use overdrive and psycho tats because you can use them both at the same time, and you can't do that with any other chem. Medex, don't ever see requested. Mentats, nope. Orange, no. Overdrive, probably along with Formula P, I'd say is the rarest and most requested one on the board. So I like to hoard that. Psycho buff, as I say, Psycho tats is just better than that because if you pop an overdrive and you pop a Psycho buff overtakes the overdrive effect. But if for some reason if you take Psycho tats after overdrive, you get them both working at the same time. XL, don't really see requested. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, guys. It's trading on the board is like it's a bit slow at the minute. It's a lot of armor being requested. It's a lot of apparel. For some reason, the tattered field jacket is like way and above the most valuable apparel piece at the minute. It's like in its own tier, and then you've got leather coat, responder set. Um, can't think what else. Maybe even like those two, and then below that you've got forest camo, traveling leather coat. So yeah, it's kind of weird how tattered field jacket has become this. You know, what's the word? What's a really popular thing that you can't get a hold of? They just seem like they're really rare, and anyone who's got it just doesn't want to let go of it at the minute. Masks, Fastnacht masks. For some reason, anyone would have thought that when Fastnacht ended, the masks would shoot up in value, but for some reason, it's gone the other way. Like nobody wants the things. I think maybe people are just burnt out on it. They've got loads of them after grinding the event that they just don't want them anymore. Give it a few months and you'll probably see the masks jump back up in value a bit. But as for now, remember when loons were going for crazy amounts? Nobody even wants a loon mask now. So if you've got a Fastnac mask, my advice would be keep hold of it. Just don't even bother putting it on the board for trade because nobody's interested. Um, as I found out recently when I offered a Fiend mask to someone for an armor piece, and I think they were really offended. So I'm sorry, I apologize. And then I offered like 500 leader bubbles and I didn't get a reply. So I think I annoyed them. So I apologize. I think it was on borrowed time was the PSN. So I'm sorry, mate. I didn't mean to lowball you. I'll probably come back and have a look at that post tonight and make you an improved offer and say sorry. It wasn't my intention. All right, guys. Uh, yeah, have a good weekend. What have we got this weekend? It's Minerva's Big Sale and Legendary Treasure Hunters. Have fun hunting those mole miners. May your rolls be profitable. Okay, over and out, guys. Take it easy.